And it's the greatest sound I've ever heard.
Dogs barking.
Those are my dogs.
You got a kennel over there.
All right, let folks trickle in. What are other listeners? Oh my gosh, there's a new category in here. It says one other listener. So like mysterious. Oh. Cool, we got the regulars here, the regular crew. Does anyone want to say hi to Kevin?
Hi, Kevin.
Well, besides you, Rob.
Oh. Hi, Rob.
Cool. Well, should we introduce our guest of honor, Kevin McGinnis, who is our UI UX wizard? I don't know. What's your title officially?
What is it? Director of UI UX. I think that's what it is. I think that's what I do here.
Cool.
Nice. And what's the topic? What are we talking about this week? Are we talking about next snapshot? We're not doing that, are we? I haven't even announced it.
Yeah, so how could we talk about it, right?
Yeah, that would be impossible.
Unless this is Kevin from the future.
Oh, is it?
Oh, multiverse.
Is this future Kevin? Because listen, if it's future Kevin, I actually have a lot of questions.
I have so many questions.
I've got so many answers.
Mostly, I mean, from a UI UX standpoint, man, if there's any snapshot that it shines, it is the next snapshot.
It's starting to come together. I finally hired a UI artist, Michael Paskar. So he's been making things look super sweet. So we're getting everything implemented in and trying to get some cohesion in this place.
Nice.
Cool. Cohesion's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in the UI front. Can't be like 90 different games every time you select something. Find something new.
Yeah, I will say I saw something today in the build that looked pretty hot. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, there's a couple sneaky ones I put in last night that people have been pinging me about today.
Yeah.
Where'd this come from?
Wait, what?
Oh,
what? I haven't played the build today.
You haven't played yet?
Do I know something Rob doesn't?
Oh my God,
awesome.
this isn't fair. All right.
It went in late last night.
Give me a hint. Do I have to be in a multiplayer game to see it?
Yes.
Shit! All right. I'm going to have to wait till the playtest at 3 p.m.
Yep. You'll see it.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. Oh! I think I know what it is.
What?
I'm not going to talk about it, but I think I know what it is.
I also saw something in there.
Let me just ask a question. I like this game. Is it related to variants?
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, all right.
Related.
Is it related? I feel like this is Guess Who. Is it related to something of like? Oh man, no, that's gonna send me in two different directions.
Yeah.
No, I think I know what it is. I think I know what it is.
Yeah, I think if I give you any hints, you'll get what it is. So
I think I got it.
I was like, isn't the whole game in some way related to variance though? It's like kind of
exactly. It's like
no, I think he knows what I'm asking. I think he knows.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's not that.
It's not that.
All right. I can't wait till 3 p.m. now. All right, but what are we talking about here? What are we diving into? Do we have an agenda?
Yeah.
Or are we waiting for questions?
Oh no, Kevin's got some stuff to say, like, about what he does and what his team does and maybe your background.
Yeah, he wants like background stuff, I guess. I could start there, just like who I am. Like who I am.
On a deep level.
So I got a little bit of backstory about me. I've been making UIs for games for about 18 years now. Had a lot of fun making music games back in the day, the Guitar Hero and the Rock Band franchise. And moved on to some of the into the first-person shooter realm with Destiny. I was the UI lead over there for a while, and then worked on some Halo stuff, some COD stuff, Black Ops 4, some Plants vs. Zombies even. And then I was over the UI lead over at on Valorant for the launch of Valorant. So, which kind of brings me here in the past, I guess it's been about 6 months now that I've been here. So it's been an awesome adventure. It's been crazy 18 years. I can't believe it. Like yeah. a few different spots along the way, but yeah, so I've been working here at Midnight Society trying to get the front end kind of UI and UX up and running. We had about 3 weeks before Snapshot 1 came out. I'm like, all right, let's try to get something in. And then I've been working with the engineering teams for a while now, trying to get stuff up and running and functional, and trying to get it so as we build now that it's a lot easier for us to augment and change and iterate later. That's been kind of our mantra, is trying to make things that we can change and not just have them be, poured into concrete. I don't know. That's kind of the beginnings of me. I don't know. I don't talk about myself all that much, so questions are welcome there.
I've got a question.
Yar.
Definitively is the UI in Warzone bad?
Oh shit.
I hear things online. Like, I obviously don't have an opinion on it. How could I? But
how could you? Yes.
As a professional UI UX director, I feel like you've got to have some opinions on
it. It's a massive game with a lot of UI.
That's such a good politically correct answer.
There's so much going on in that game. It's insane. It's so much.
Honestly, that can be said about any criticism of the new Call of Duty. And I'm not being like fake about it. Like, it is literally 8 games in one.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you have the bandwidth or time or team or anything to polish that much content to the expectations of the community? It is a massive undertaking.
For sure. There's so many different like systems and subsystems like having to dance and work together. Like, that's just a massive undertaking for all that to not only to just fundamentally work, but to actually be this cohesive experience. Those are like the two things I'm always fighting against, right? It's like trying to get it up and running so it actually just works. And then it's like trying to figure out what the UX that you want people to be able to navigate through. And then there's business stuff that wants it to be one thing. There's the dev team that wants to be another. There's all these other factors that are coming in. So, as far as like all the crazy that's in that game, I think they did a pretty good job, actually.
Yeah, I think that's the exact context and nuance that I think is missed, right? Like, when we came out early, we came out pretty confidently, right? Is like, hey, we are looking to challenge the Call of Duties of the world, the Apexes of the world, like the big AAA competitive first-person shooters. We are planning to be the best of our genre when we come out. And naturally, you can sort of balk at that. You can be like, oh, come on. Like, those are huge, massive, $250 million games with 3,000 person studios. But I think the context and the nuance that people miss there is like, we're not trying to replicate what they're doing by no means, right? Like, we have chosen a very specific slice of what we're trying to do. We are a multiplayer only. We're not doing a campaign. We're not doing narrative. We're not doing, split screen co-op stuff. We're not doing like all of these things that the big AAA franchises that are spending $250 million and 3,000 developers over 3 to 5 years, right? Like, they're trying to tackle everything. They're like, we're the everything game. And they do it very well. That is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to pick our slice and be the best of that slice, which is one of the many slices those games have. And when you look at it through that lens, it's like, oh, we got that. That's easy. And by easy, I mean incredibly difficult every single time.
So easy, yes. So easy. The dev team is
I know, I was like,
crying.
what? Easy. Cool. All right. So there are some comments in the comments. There's some comments in the replies. Well, I don't know, Kevin, maybe you can speak to this. Someone is wondering, so who is this? Disconic. When will loot be on chain? So I think what he's getting at is like, when can I actually like keep my stuff? Like, at what point do we start keeping our loot?
Right, that's an active discussions right now. I don't know. I bet Rob has some answers for that one.
I definitely have some opinions.
There's some opinions for sure.
Yeah, I think the short answer is not for Snapshot 4. I can definitely tell you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking to get like online saving, and to be clear, persistent online saved inventory is different than on-chain inventory. If you want to talk literally like things that are meant to do a blockchain, and that's a long ways off, right? Because you got to think our game is primarily just a non-blockchain sort of experience. So you're going to be like, our variants are going to be playing, looting, building inventories, trading with each other, doing all of that stuff, completely agnostic of any of that technology. While we sort of build out these sort of out of game sort of meta and platform stuff, that where that stuff really matters. So it's going to be a while before you worry about that. But the game is going to be fully playable, lootable, building your inventory, trading with other players, trading with NPCs, doing all of that stuff before any of that stuff has to come online, which is great. And that's our biggest priority right now. And what we've been talking about internally is like, when can we get that online, cloud save, persistent inventory stuff so that you don't have to worry about, oh, I collected all this stuff and now I've lost it next time I've logged in.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. It's just trying to get our, getting loot savable to the cloud. That's the first step. When that comes online, I'm not sure if we're ready to answer that one, but it's coming. That's what we're actively working on.
Cool. So I've brought Onyx Eclipse 4 into the space. Welcome.
Hey, thanks. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Cool. Hey, Kevin, it's an honor to talk to you. And just wondering what kind of pet peeves you have regarding UI, UX, something that you're not interested in bringing to Dead Drop, or, stuff that you hated, of games that you worked on in the past, or maybe stuff you see in the industry. What kind of pet peeves are bothering you?
That's pet peeves. I mean, there's always the one that always comes out is UI that holds you back in some way, or it's the UI and the experience that slows you down or gives hiccups or gets you lost 10 screens deep, that type of thing. So for me, my pet peeve has always been like loading times into screens. Like if I click on something, I want to know that it's interactive. If I hover it, if I click it, if I move to a new screen, that it doesn't take me, even a quarter second. Or if it does, I need to hide those things. I don't really have any crazy pet peeves other than I think of like the architecture of UI as more of like an abstract architecture. So it has to feel like it has a space, but not like it's not like a cubby hole with 9 different rooms in it. Like it needs to feel like when you're in a space, you know where you're at. So your context of what information's coming at you is understood a lot quicker. Yeah, so for me, the biggest pet peeve is wait times and then just diving in and out. It's like too much information on a screen. It's like having everything there at all times sounds cool, but it's actually a hindrance to kind of what your cognitive load can handle. People get scared of kind of the overwhelming screens, and so they want to get out of it and find a way away from it. And so I'm trying to mitigate that at all times. So the spaces that you're in outside of the game are actually pretty enjoyable and informative of how the game is played or how you actually played it. I don't know if that
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sweet. Let's let Gabe Reese into the space, or on the stage rather. Welcome,
Hey.
Gabe. Rob, do you want to welcome people in your like dramatic fashion?
Yeah, let me see who we got here. Gabe Reese!
Never been so
Welcome to the
welcome in my
stage.
life.
Rob, you owe me one too.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me backfill. Wait, what? Onyx Eclipse 4?
Yeah.
Onyx Eclipse 4! 4? That's not it. You get one take. That's one take, Bobby.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. It actually kind of fed into the last question. And, when you look at games, going back to like GoldenEye, the UIs and the experience has always been kind of an overlay onto the gameplay. And as we transition into more, let's say, futuristic games like Apex or Destiny, the UI kind of has more integrated into the gameplay. And with the snapshots we see, ammo counts on the back of guns and things like that. Do you appreciate that transition, and do you feel that that's more of a interactive experience, kind of like what you're talking about, or the more immersive experience? And if so, do you think that that's kind of where this is going to kind of really shine as a game?
That's where I'd like it to be, where it's more immersive. So my whole job is to not be seen or felt in a lot of ways. Like, so you don't actually see the UI. You should more feel it than see it. And so that's where, like, yeah, some of the weapon counts is on your weapon. A lot of the HUD experiences are more inside the game rather than like some sort of debuff, whatever, like text string that hits the screen. So I'm very much in the the less is more, and anything that we can do to bring the UI to the gameplay is what I'd like to do most. Because if I'm having to rely on text, then I'm actually not liking what I'm doing. It's the quick way to do it. It's a quick way to get something into the game, but it's not really where the immersion is for people. So the more that we can make it into the world space, the better. Visual effects too, like if you're getting hit in a moment to moment combat stuff, like I'd rather have you feel that rather than understand it, right? Like there's that kind of the dance between the intellectual, like what's specifically happening, versus the visceral, like what do I feel is happening. Like if you were to walk across the street and you heard a car horn, you wouldn't go, oh, that sounds like a car horn. I should turn around and look at that. It's more like you kind of like, you would jump and freak out, like I'm gonna get hit by something. So it's more tying into the visceral understanding of the information design. So,
you know what I
Awesome.
feel? The game that I feel like brought that to the mainstream and hit us in the face with it so much in the last year was Elden Ring. Right? Because up to that point, especially if you were a first-person shooter player, like I feel like first-person shooters have been going more and more in the opposite direction of like, we have to put everything on your HUD. We need to tell you how much XP you're getting, how much damage you're doing, what your health state is, what your ammo count looks like, the objective you're currently doing, the objectives you could be doing, the direction that you're walking, the direction that the enemy is in, the things that your friends are pinging. An exhaustive list of things that are constantly on your screen
yeah.
at any given time. And then Elden Ring drops, and they're like, we ain't telling you shit. And I'm like, thank you? Like, let me be in there, let me figure it out, and don't help me when I don't figure it out, right? Because I'm going to figure it out 4 hours later, and that kind of feels more rewarding to me.
Yeah, that's what I've always liked about hardcore modes. Like, turn off the HUD, and all of a sudden your senses grow a bit differently, right? You're not like relying on your mini map or something like that, or checking out the heat map or something, trying to track people in a different way. It's like, oh, this is more like me inside of the game right now. So I'm not relying on the kind of these almost like dev tools in order for you to understand what's going on in the game. So yeah, that's where I like to be. The more that we can put it into the world and then away from the UI, the better.
Yes.
The difference of playing World of Warcraft and in like an actual shooter, because a lot of shooters have become World of Warcraft where they have all that stuff on the screen and it's just exhausting, like you said.
Yeah, like, and a lot of people are kind of, they're taken aback by that stuff. Like I haven't played World of Warcraft just because I look at that and like, that's exhausting. That's a spreadsheet to me. I can't handle it. So I'm much more of a, the minimalist as far as information coming at me or coming at the players.
Cool. All right, we got some more requests here from Taco, one of our favorites, one of our sentries, or now Night Command, maybe. All right, welcome, Taco. And let's let Garu the God. Hope I said that right. Garu. Welcome, guys.
Hello, Garu.
Hello, Garo, the God. Anime.
Garu!
First of all, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm just curious. First of all, who is your main target for this game? Is it America, Europe, the whole world?
That's a great question. It's definitely a global target. So we're going big. We're planning to be global. We plan on supporting regions around the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're not targeting, like, this is not a game where we're specifically targeting our domestic audience, which would be North America. We're really going for like a global thing. We think of it more in terms of demographics than we do in regions, right?
I see.
Our demographic is probably fans of Call of Duty who want a little bit more grounded tactical experience in the extraction shooter genre.
Now, if I may ask another question, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm from Eastern Europe, and we in Europe here, we love Counter-Strike, and we play a lot of Counter-Strike. For somebody like me, who is face level 7, for example, I love the weapons and the gunplay of Counter-Strike. The gunplay of Call of Duty, I do not like, and that's what's keeping me from playing the game. Will your gunplay take some little inspiration from Counter-Strike? Just some little inspiration.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the short answer is yes, right? So how I position it is, we are like fans of Call of Duty who want a more grounded tactical experience, which to me starts moving it away from Call of Duty and more towards things like Counter-Strike and Tarkov It's slowing it down a little bit, focusing a little bit more on that less arcadey gunplay, a little bit more authenticity. You know, I'm hesitant to say the word realism, right? Because we're not going like simulation where your gun jams and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So yes, I think we are going more in the direction of what you are probably a fan of and away from Call of Duty, but not entirely, right?
No, no, I
Like, not going
understand. I
all the
understand.
way to Counter-Strike, which is like a lot more like all the way to the end of that spectrum.
Just another question, if I may. Will the gun sound be amazing as Counter-Strike? Because I love the AVP. I love when I hear the AK shooting. Will the sound be amazing?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Travis, get on it. No, I let Travis know. It has to be at least better than Counter-Strike.
Well, that's a pretty big bar to say. I mean,
Well, that's our minimum. That's our minimum, baby. At least better than Counter-Strike.
I like how this is going. Okay. We'll see. Okay. I'll remember you told me this when I play the game. I'll remember.
Hey, it's recorded. It's on the internet. It's live.
Yeah, hold him to it. Hold him to it.
Okay. Thank you for your time. That's all I want to say. Thank you, and shout out to Midnight Society. I can't wait to play your game. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Taco. Taco's got nothing to say.
Yeah, nothing.
I'm sure that's not true. Unless maybe it is. All right, so we're gonna let in some more peeps. We got J Riv, a regular dude.
J
That's
Riv, my
dope.
man.
Ooh, I like this dude. That's dope. Charlie Ball,
Dude, that's dope. The dopest dude I know.
That's right. I have a UI UX question for, is that Kevin?
Perfect.
So I'm actually returning to school and I'm interested in doing UI UX for video games specifically. Is that more of like a graphic design route, or like what should I like be looking at like getting started?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of different avenues into the UI UX. My path was in graphic design, so I have like undergraduate and graduate degrees in graphic design. So I went down that path of like just information design, looking at the ways that to communicate visually, understanding semiotics in a way, so you can better understand the language of the visuals without text. I mean, that's one way, but then there's also illustrative ways too. If you just want to be into art and be like a 2D artist, that's another path you could do, which kind of lends itself into graphic design, but also illustration. And then there's another path of like, oh, if you're more on the technical side, if you really want to get in and learn the Unreal Engine and start to be able to create shaders and create, animations and whatnot, like that's a whole other like aspect of what it takes to kind of be on a UI team. And then there's the more like hardcore UX, which is almost more like technical writing in some ways, where you could be like a system designer, where you're thinking through all the edge cases and use cases. There's how are systems understood in order to be pitched to management, and then pitched to the dev team, and then pitched to to engineering and how to actually build stuff. So there's tons of different ways to go about it. It's kind of really depends on what route you want to go. If you're more on the art side, or you like laying out like typography and visual design stuff, or
I'm thinking it's like more of like working with the flow of like how things flow, and like if you open this box, it displays this box, but making sure it flows right. So is that more of graphic design then?
Yeah, I think that'd be graphic design. Yeah, it depends like how deep you want to go into it though. Like some of the UX stuff you can be very like gray boxy, and
Okay.
to figure out like what goes where. So it's more informational design. I don't know. I'm coming from graphic design, so I always go to high fidelity flows like right away, which is maybe not the best.
Okay.
That's kind of like that's where my background is. Like I want to know if I have these 20 different things need to be on the screen, I want to figure out if it can actually be on that screen and not just push it through into development. And then we learn, oh, that's just way too much crap on the screen. We should figure something else out. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that pretty much answers the question I had. I just kind of wanted to know, because I'm signing up for classes right now, and I saw this this talk going on, and I said, wow, what a coincidence. All right.
Yeah, it depends on like what they're offering for classes. Like I think the landscape has changed a bunch. So I'm sure there's like information design. I think typography is a good one to know. That's always been the hardest one for hiring, is people that really understand typography.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, thank you very much. Loving the game. And yeah, what a coincidence that this speak was happening.
Right on.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. You. Not meaning this ironically, but dude, that was dope.
Thank you. I was going to make a dope joke too, but now you used it.
Sorry, I beat you to it. Yours is probably better too. Sorry about that. But
I doubt it.
It's just I was smiling the whole time too, because yesterday when we were talking to Kevin about doing this, he was like, okay, so what are we going to talk about? And I was like, well, you can tell me like all this stuff that you're doing, sort of, without, spoiling anything. But I was like, there's at least one person at every Twitter space that we've done that, is focusing on a specific discipline or part of development that is asked about career stuff and like how to get your foot in the door and what you should be studying and, working on and portfolios and things like that. So I think it's really cool that that you guys find it helpful in that regard as well. So that's kind of something we've been, talking about prepping for all of these. So yeah, Kevin has given, what have you done? You've done some university talks or something, right? You said something.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of friends that have been like, they're professors. And so they're always asking me every few years to come talk to their students, scare them into listening to their teachers. So, yeah, it always brings up like when people ask like, yeah, how do you even get into into games? Like I didn't even know it was an option when I was in school, even out of school. I started in broadcast design for about a year, and I got an email saying, hey, this one of my students or one of the professors' landlord is the art director at Harmonix Music Systems, and they're looking for a graphic designer. I'm like, sure, I'll see what that's about. And then, yeah, that's kind of what the introduction into the world of games. It was cool because like one half the studio is like art, and the other half is like hardcore MIT guys. And so it's like just a clash of cool, art and engineering together. It was just something I had never experienced before, and I thought that was just the coolest thing, and totally had to be a part of it, and I've been here ever since. It's been super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I learned a little bit more in depth about like what technical artists are and what they do. Just talking to Howard, and I was like, wow, this is like, I had not thought about engineering and art, being married together kind of in like one person or like one role in that way. So, and then that there's different disciplines and concentrations that you can have within that, whether you're more into the engineering side or more on the art side.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like even technical artists from like Howard's point of view, like there's technical artists for UI also. It's like, all right, if we want to make something, we don't just make a big, huge image and make a movie out of it. You actually have to like kind of construct and make it to be super efficient at runtime. So you're not killing milliseconds that the game team needs in order to like render this UI. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and to really understand how to make efficient art, and that's what's kind of cool about the UI art side of it, the technical art side of it, which I'm gonna be hiring for soon. I need a UI technical artist. Make some cool art that's efficient.
Nice. Cool. So we got some other speakers in here. Yeah, Taco, Charlie Ball. Anyone want to ask Kevin a question?
So I was having a little connection issue earlier, and I couldn't hear anything, and I heard my name was being called or something. But anyway,
You know, you
I
can
was wondering what the
apologize, Taco, but I don't
inspirations
think I'm ready
currently
to forgive.
were for Dead Drop for UI UX.
What?
I'm
I
talking
lagged
over
out, didn't
you.
Well,
I?
yeah, Rob's talking over everything.
Like what? You're like, oh, do you
I
have a
can't hear
question?
him.
I'm just gonna talk over you.
I can't hear him. I can't hear him. I don't know why. My phone's being wonky.
Oh my god. I'll shut up. You go ahead, Taco.
Just tell me when to speak, I guess.
Go for it.
Go.
Okay. I was wondering what the inspirations were for UI UX for Dead Drop.
Ooh, inspirations. Yeah, so that's been kind of a funny exploration where we're looking at a lot of like 80s action movies and 80s like sci-fi. Here, I should pull up. I need to get some reference for my reference. Yeah, a lot of movies actually. Like I remember I was looking at that movie Blue Thunder, looking at like Knight Rider, even looking at things like Oblivion, a little too sci-fi, but like kind of that sort of that texturing of CRT TVs, kind of old school tech, kind of old school typography, but always like mechanical in some respects. Like I want to like create screens that look like someone actually had to put it together, and maybe it doesn't like quite work, or you can tell the glass is all screwed up and there's some dead pixels here or there, or the tube of the TV is starting to go out. So stuff like that is what I'm looking at. Texture wise stuff, yeah, like still looking at things like Mad Max and Blade Runner is a big one. What else do I got here? Yeah. What else do I got? Even like old school band logos, like Rat and Anthrax, like stuff that's like pretty like kind of funny and hardcore back in the day, that are a little have a big or have a kind of a funny footprint to them. Just old school kind of graphic design, even like 90s graphic design. I'm looking at stuff like Ray Gun Magazine, Von Oliver, David Carson stuff, things that are really kind of hacked together, because I kind of have this DIY feel to some of the graphic design that we're going to go after. So the typography won't be super like straight and like super clean. We'll probably get it munched up a little bit, get some shaders in there in order to make it feel like it's not coming from a perfectly rendered LED screen, right? It's coming from some other like beat up piece of hardware that's barely hanging on. That's kind of what we're dabbling in right now. But we're right in the throes of it, of trying to figure out what the visual style is for the front end menus. It's always a tough one because I always like to take lead from what the environment team is doing, and so like as we start on our adventure at the same time, it's always I'm always have like one eye on what they're doing, and they're and so I'm always constantly gauging what's coming in the next 3 months or 4 months, working with the art director in order to really make sure that we complement styles rather than to just be us in our own vacuum creating something completely different or out of whack from what the environment team is working on. So yeah, that's where I'm starting, kind of 80s, 90s graphic design, hardcore. I even look like VHS tapes and stuff like that from back in the day, if anybody knows what those are. My daughter found one in the wild one day and was like, "What is this?" So that's partial of it. Yeah. Does that answer your question? I'm starting to ramble, so. Oh, shit.
It answered my questions.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I saw a video of I forget his name, the guy that interviews a bunch of celebrities, like one of the 20 people that interview a bunch of celebrities. But it was like a montage of him asking a bunch of people, like, "What's your inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration from?" And it's
Oh, where do you get your
hilarious.
ideas?
Yeah, where do you get your ideas? That's what. And it's just a montage of just crickets and people being like, "Well, I don't know."
That's my favorite meme. Where do you like? Listen, man, I've been a fan for like a long time, and I'm chomping at the bit to ask you this. Where do you get your ideas?
Yeah.
It's tough, right? It's a process. I don't know if I have ideas. I have process. I don't know. I like to get into it. I like, as I'm like making stuff, what I'm making kind of I have a dialogue with in a weird way where that's kind of like the happy accident stuff, right? Where as you're making things, it's informing you of what it is in order to then proceed to make it different or to evolve it in some way. So it's a strange kind of working process that it's probably why I shouldn't ever talk about it.
No, I think it's really cool. I was just chuckling because I somehow, when you said that, had this image of you like talking to a loot crate, like, "What are you? What do you want to be? What is your intention and purpose here?"
What do you want inside?
Yeah.
What should be in here? Pretty much.
Do you contain multitudes?
That's what I do all day long. I just talk to myself in weird ways.
Well, I have a tease. No, just kidding, about loot crates.
Nice.
Yeah. No, just kidding. I'm not gonna do that. Cool. So who else do we have in here? Oh, wait, Space Cowboy. We can let Space Cowboy in the room. Yeah, and anyone can speak. So whenever you have a question. Hello.
What's up, 12 a.m.? What's up, Variants and everybody in chat? Taco stole my question. Probably got it from Discord. It's all good, though. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Hey, thank you once again, since I ain't got a question. Looking forward to Snapshot 4. Kevin, looking forward to your UI. Appreciate all these deep dives from you guys. These are awesome. These Twitter spaces and talking to all the devs. It's pretty dope, and it's nice to see, nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Office is the greatest TV show of all time. Period. Boom.
Wow.
Nobody watched it? Come on, guys. I thought it was big in the USA, The Office. I thought it was big.
Oh, no, it is. Oh, it is.
It is very big. Very big.
I'm watching it the first time this year. I mean, I'm in love with it, honestly. Steve Carell is just phenomenal. I don't know.
It's a classic.
So good.
Yeah, well, I will say, while The Office is great, there are a lot of folks in our founder community who would agree with me when I say that New Girl is just top quality.
What are you talking about?
I haven't watched it yet. I don't know.
Just saying. We found out that was a favorite amongst some folks in our community.
Hey, you know what? Want to know a fun fact about The Office? Is so at the time I was working at Infinity Ward on Call of Duty. Our offices we were in our second office, which was on Ventura Boulevard in Encino, California. The Office was filming at the same time in Van Nuys, which, if you're familiar with SoCal, Van Nuys is just down the street from Encino. And so, like, they had a warehouse, which was the Dunder Mifflin office, where they would film
nice.
So we would always just see the Office characters, like, walking to lunch and, like, doing things.
You lucky, very lucky. Nice.
That's amazing.
That's my only connection to The Office.
That's more of a connection than most of us have. So
I have no connection. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Steve
did work
Carell
with
actually lives in that area. I don't know where he lived exactly, but it was somewhere around Encino, Sherman Oaks, because me and him, because I also lived there, would go to the same movie theater, which was the ArcLight Cinemas right there in Sherman Oaks. And so I would always see him at movies with him and his wife. I
You
probably
know,
shouldn't say that. Don't go there looking for Steve
Yeah,
Carell.
wait.
Just let him just enjoy the movie.
your voice reminds me of Andy Bernard, so it's okay, Andy. It's okay.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But it was funny because I had this thing that if I was seeing a comedy and Steve Carell was also seeing a comedy at the same time at the same theater with me, I would always, if I laughed at something, I would look to see if he was also laughing.
Of course. So
I'd be
funny.
like, do we have the same sense of humor?
Is this really funny? Does he think it's funny? Oh my god, that's hilarious. Cool.
That is hilarious. All right, I'll jump in. It's a hey, what's up, Kevin? It's Jason Arons, actually.
Hey.
What?
We've only
I was
had.
ready to say, I'm like, is that Jason?
Jason?
It is. Yeah, I didn't sign up to join, but the conversation's too good, so I just
Wait, guys, we have a surprise Midnight Society team member in here. Should we make him a host? Can we do that?
Yes.
No, don't make me a host. Let me just say my thing and disappear into the shadows.
I didn't even know you had a Twitter account.
I know, me either. I don't
Surprise.
think I did. Oh gosh. Awesome.
Well, anyway, so we've only had like one meeting together, I think, Kevin, but I'm really looking forward to working more into the new year. But I figure this is a cool audience to get a little nerdy with, and you've already dropped the word semiotics earlier.
Oh,
so
shit. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you kind of what that tie-in is for, like, what is semiotics, and like how does that relate to that like visceral feeling that you're talking about? How do you get to the point where your visuals don't need to be translated, but you're having that experience? I mean, you kind of said these things like magic spells, but I'm kind of wondering if you can kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. Like, how do you what's your process? Like, how do you actually do this? Is there science to it, or is it all kind of just like you feel your way through it? Also, like, just what's your process?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with semiotics. It is kind of a, it's almost like a pseudoscience in a way, because it's dealing with communicating through your, more so through the visual side of the way people understand their visual world. So, and it depends on your background, like social background. It depends on your environment, like trying to, like, how would you actually design a train ticket that would give you all the information that you would need to know what time what time you have to be there, what cities you're going to, what seat you're on, what train you're on, without using any sort of language. If it's just using symbols, basically symbols and icons, and how do you derive meaning for people from across multiple sorts of backgrounds to understand all these things. So yes, semiotics for me is it's my way of slowing down the mind. Like, if you have a word, you can instantly kind of understand, people can instantly understand what that means if it's spelled correctly. But if you were to actually make that a symbol that didn't require 10, 20 years of understanding or learning languages, that how could you instantly make people understand that? And that's the trick, trying to make symbols that anybody can understand quickly. And games have a lot of icons, and usually they have a lot of icons and then have a lot of text next to those icons. And I always call those the qualifiers. That basically means that icon's not doing its job, or wasn't worked on maybe enough to do its job. So you have to put a piece of text next to it. So it's kind of like both the icon. When I see an icon and a piece of text together, I'm like, oh, those guys probably don't like each other. Like, they both want that job to communicate to you. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Just to dumb it down a little bit.
Yeah.
For me, the most simple form of that is like, it's the reason we put a skull on the screen when you get a kill, right? Instead of telling you got to kill. Or it's a reason why we have a flag and a flag with an X on it and capture the flag to let you know the state of your objective.
Yeah, a lot of those things are, it's like when it comes to HUD, that instant moment-to-moment feedback stuff, it's like a flash is a flash and an icon is worth a lot more, because you can use your peripheral vision to pick those cues up. You don't actually need to look and focus and then read to understand. Like that process of taking your attention away from what you're aiming at to look at a thing to then read it is, you don't want to be doing that sort of stuff. It pulls you out of the immersion and actually can get you killed too at the same time. So that's why, I try to rely on a lot of symbology in games. So you can use your periphery to pick up what's going on. It doesn't need to be very specific, but
that's awesome.
Does need to be communicated.
It's like the inverse of the occult or something. It's like the opposite of having like mystic symbols. It's like the symbols are like anti-mystic. They're like super, like they reveal, they just jump like inceptively, like directly into your consciousness. I love it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Kevin, I have a follow-up question on that. So do semiotics include the use of like colors? So I don't know if it's just symbols, but like the colors that things are too? And you're communicating that way, I guess, with color
palettes. The screen is turning blue. I'm getting cold. It's hot.
Yeah. Right.
Red.
Yeah. It's like, that's the next level. Like when you're looking at a shape, you see its silhouette first, and then you start to kind of go into reading what the shapes mean. Like I would need kind of visual aids to kind of talk through it. But basically, yes, color's like the next, that's before shape, I think it's like you'd be seeing color, but I can't always rely on color because there's so many reliance on colorblind.
Right.
And then, so I usually work with shape before I work with color. Color's kind of a subsystem of the icon.
That's awesome. Yeah, my last kind of tie into this before I disappear back into the shadows. For a game like ours where we're expecting players to be making a lot of really rapid decisions and like under ferocious duress, right? Yeah. The cognitive load, like you talked about, but also just the bounded rationality, like being able to in the field make a snap decision and then be happy with that decision after the fact. Maybe it takes some practice, right? But like, I love that that's something that we can be conscious about, that we can actually be driving towards. So anyway, super cool. Appreciate you doing that with me.
Cool. Yeah, it's like that's the whole kind of stacking system of feedback for heads-up displays. Like, what's the most dramatic thing that you need to understand now in order to make a decision, so that you are happy about that decision based off of what the game fed you. So it's like, if the most important thing you should be like reacting to is like the most minimal thing on the screen, then we're not kind of communicating that properly to you. And so, but that kind of gets you into the gamification of games where it's like it's over the top and there's brown circles everywhere pointing at different things, showing you where things are. It's like sometimes you pull that back and it allows the player to have it opens up their senses a bit more to not having to just like kind of run and gun, because they know the game's going to tell them exactly what's going on. But if we pull all those things back, then people are going to start walking around that corner rather than running around that corner, because the consequences are you need to be a little sharper to see those consequences, rather than like the game's like, oh yeah, now I need to run back this way or pop up the shield or something, whatever. So
totally.
Hi,
Cool.
I have a quick question, actually, if I could jump in. Hi, Kevin. I know noticed you mentioned you listed like I guess Destiny 2 Destiny was one of the games that you worked on, and that game stands out to me because maybe it's more Destiny 2, but I feel like it's one of the few games that for consoles includes a cursor or like a browser to navigate the menus. And compared to other modern games, I think even looking at Modern Warfare 2, there is an aspect of looting out in the field, and that navigation feels clunky on PC. But um, I was wondering, I guess, what was the decision for Destiny 2 to include a browser or a cursor in the menus? And does that have like a place in dead drop whenever it comes to being out on the field, or is that something that could be included in, I guess, when we're not in the field? I only ask that because for the genre of being an extraction shooter, there's a level of inventory management. And so
Yep.
I figured, there has to be a happy balance between consoles and PC, and so does Destiny 2's cursor have a place in Dead Drop?
Well, I worked on Destiny 1, well, pre Destiny 1. So I was working on the free cursor back when half the studio hated it and the other half liked it because it was like a kind of a new thing. But basically it was for inventory management. That Destiny was like early on, it was kind of like it's the space shooter for like World of Warcraft, right? So it's like you had to manage your inventory in a way without having to dive into like 5 or 6 different menus to understand how much stuff you have, and that's kind of why the free cursor was born. It was basically for easy navigation for a lot of information, and so working with the free cursor actually helps the console side because having the different input mechanic on different devices like PC to console to like even mobile, like those are different input devices, and so the closer you can have your UI around using the same input device, meaning the free cursor on console and the mouse and keyboard on a PC, the it doesn't require you to redesign your entire front end menus for that navigation of all your inventory. So that's why Destiny started that way, was for inventory management and to have that summary view of a screen and then a hover view to get a little bit more detail. And then if you really wanted more detail on that item, you just, you press a button and then you have full screen. So it was a nice way to give you that little bit more information before you would dive into a full on experience of what that piece of gear or weapon was. Like if you're going to upgrade something, you don't need to know all that stuff on the summary type screen. You can the icon should be doing that all for you with shape and color, like we were talking about. But if you wanted to get all the kind of crazy stats of like, oh, is this better than that? Then that's when you'd hover on it, and that's when you could like compare things. So for me, free cursor for Dead Drop, like we already have that kind of up and operational right now. It's clunky for sure, as far as like the moment to moment in game. That's what we're working on right now, is like how can we clean that up, and maybe we don't even use it in game. Maybe it's a D-pad only for console, just to be quicker about it. And if you really wanted to open something up and get more into detail, which would mean you're basically kind of stopping your movement within the game, then that's maybe when we would use full free cursor. But yeah, the quick inventory, like pick up and dropping stuff, maybe that's all D-pad. And that's currently what we're working on right now, is trying to figure out how quickly we can loot stuff. Can you run and like be able to like look at your inventory and just keep going, right? So you're not stopping and kind of moving around with a cursor slowly. Like that's what's nice about a PC with a mouse. You can just move faster. It's definitely just quicker. I don't know. I'm rambling now. So
No, I was just curious on your take on that. I'm curious to see what you guys decide on, but thanks for that.
Yeah, I like the precursor on console just because you rely less and less on drilling down into menus. It's that second layer of tooltip basically that allows you to go, do I want to select this or do I not want to select it? Because I think that's a lot of the reason UIs get clunky is like you have to click in to get that little bit of information. It's like a name, and then you click on it, and then you see the thing. And it's disorienting for me to like dive in and out of things.
Cool. All right. Well, we have time for probably one or two more questions. I know Space Cowboy's been in here a while.
Hey. A question for Kevin. So you worked on Black Ops 4 and Valorant, right?
Yep.
So what kind of features or design methodologies do you think from those games would you like carry over to Midnight Society, and what would be completely different, completely new compared to those games?
Well, I mean, the biggest one is the looting aspect. Like, that's the new. Yeah, that's the new one for me. In order to get your ability to pick up and organize and make quick decisions, like in the moment in a game, that have consequence if you lose them. Like that's the big thing that's new for Dead Drop. I think on the Valorant side, I think a lot of takeaways from that game for me is just like that game was designed to be on a toaster, so you can basically it's streamlined in a lot of ways, so you can run it on any sort of machine, and being able to think smartly like that will constantly help us create, again, like efficient art, so we're not bogging the system down when we have possibly 1,000 different items of loot items that need to be possibly loaded at any given time. It makes us kind of rethink on how we're generating artwork, if we're generating on the fly based off of 3D models that are already in the game, those types of things. But Black Ops, I don't know, that gets more into gameplay sort of stuff that I wasn't really too crazy involved with. I think trying to be a little less gamey than COD, so I think less information is going to be the key thing there I guess would be a touchstone.
How would you solve that issue that's really present in Warzone 2 right now, and was a little bit in Warzone 1 also, where you have like multiple things on the ground and you're pointing directly at the one you want, but it will not light up, and you have to like it's highlighting something else, and you have to like maneuver around and back out of the range of something else just to kind of get to the thing you want.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about that one, other than it sounds like just a bug, right? Where they're the proximity of where your cursor's at, where your center is compared to where the object is, if it's drawing inside of something or it's getting blocked. That's right now we're dealing with some of that by just, instead of like you exploding like a piñata when you get killed, it's more like we have a death crate and everything's in there, so we don't have to really worry about that so much. But there will be items in the world that are quick pickups, just like we have weapons right now.
Yeah, that to me that sounds more like an engineering problem than a UI UX problem. Is making sure that your contextual input is choosing the right thing versus what's actually happening.
Yeah,
but I agree. I think it's a bug.
It's a bug, but yeah, it is that player experience. Like, this is the most frustrating thing. I just want to pick this up. It's right here. Give me
the fucking gun.
Give me the goddamn thing. Yeah. Those are the things. Like, yeah, like I'll be all over that stuff too when it's happening, because it's just frustration moments that are maybe an easy fix, but it's huge frustration.
You know what I love about where we're like, for those who don't follow us on Twitter, you may not know that yesterday we celebrated our 1 year anniversary. We are 47 deep.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was the party hat sound, but it sounded kind of weird. It sounded like.
But what I love about it is stop, I'm moving on. What I love about it is we're still at that size that when bugs come up, you can yell one person's name.
Yeah.
If somebody talks about audio, I can yell Travis. If somebody talks about UI, I can be like, Kevin! Kevin!
Yeah, that's a huge advantage because we can move so much faster that way. Communication is it's really easy. Like, we all know what each other is working on, so if there's an issue, we know who to talk to, and it's just it's sometimes that would get put into a bug, and then it gets trickled down through the system, and a month later it lands on someone's plate that needs to fix it. Or it's a 2-second conversation, like, oh yeah, shit, that'd take me 30 seconds. Let me go do that right now. Like those are the reasons we can move so fast.
One more question from me. I was surprised in Warzone 1 how when you were like looting and buy stations were sometimes much faster on a controller. For example, controller players would just slide up to a buy station and hit, the button to activate it and hit the button to buy their teammates back. And the UI, they could buy their teammates back before the UI even appeared. Whereas I'm playing on PC, I run up to the buy station, press the button to use it, then I have to move my mouse to click on their name, and it would take me so long. And then I'd watch people playing on controller, and they would be able to, navigate those menus like literally instantly, like a millisecond, and for something that would take me, 300 milliseconds or whatever. So, that I think that was an interesting realization for me. Is like, okay, mouse and keyboard's not always faster. It really depends on how they design it and what they have in mind when they're designing it.
For sure, because sometimes, since the controller is usually at a disadvantage or is thought of as a disadvantage, then there's decisions that are made in order to make it not a disadvantage, which then it can just swing it the other way. And we've been actively talking about that, right? Where we're trying to make both experiences feel really good. But yeah, like, because right now we have the free cursor and it's like super clunky because we don't have D-pad navigation working or quick loot or anything like that. So it's the beginnings of it.
that specific example that he gave you just shows like the importance of a good UX designer, right? Because that UX designer who worked on that buy station knew that if a user is coming to this buy station while they actively have a teammate who's dead and can be brought back, they knew that the primary function that you want to do when you open that buy station is to bring that person back, and made a deliberate choice to make that spamming the A button, open the buy station, buy, and have it pre-select that buying back somebody, right? And like that just shows like the difference between people who are really looking at the details of UX and people who are using it as an afterthought.
But I would think they would make it so on a mouse and keyboard you could run up and press EE real fast and do it, but they didn't do that. Seems like maybe they either negligently or deliberately made it so that you have to click on that name and then click, confirm, and it just takes forever.
Yeah, that does feel like a deliberate choice.
Yeah. Or is he used for something else in some other case? I
don't know. I wonder if Enter does it.
Yeah.
What happens when you open it and enter it? I don't know. Somebody call Mr. Activision.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up for today. If we didn't get to a question that you had, Kevin and Rob will be in the comments here on this thread. I know that there's a few in there that we didn't get to, so they'll be responding to your questions there as well. But yeah, thanks for joining us again for and thank you, Kevin, for just a super informative and insightful session.
Love you guys. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
What was that?
Yay.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.